Welcome to Learning Deviations Part 2. In this part, we're going to be going over what items you need to actually play the piece. First thing you're going to need, a 6-string classical guitar. A lot of people think this piece is 10-string. It's not. It's actually just standard 6-string in a drop B tuning, which leads us to the next thing you're going to need. This piece works best if you put a lower bass string on it. So tuning just a standard E string down to B can work, but it just is not going to sound as good. So I find that depending on the guitar, everybody's got to kind of go by ear, but a 48, a 50, or a 52 gauge string kind of is that sweet spot. It can go sometimes a little bit higher to like a 54 or even a 56. After that, it starts to get a little choke sounding, and you're going to lose some of the kind of the looseness that you want on the slurs or you want on the glissandos. So got to use your ear on a lot of this. Everybody's guitar is different. Things are going to sound different. So the next thing you're going to need is some cardboard. And when we get into setting up the guitars, I'll talk about different ways of varying it. But corrugated cardboard, the thickest that you can find, but not the double ply. I find a thicker corrugated cardboard works well. Not the thin stuff, but something that's maybe like a 1/4 inch, right around there, maybe a little bit under. You're going to need some Elmer's glue. You're going to need some salt. Because we're talking about what you need in order to play this piece, I really recommend you have access to an Olympic weight set. We'll be getting into what type of lifting I think helps being able to train for the endurance of this piece and to make your hands fire and to allow you to play aggressively for 24 minutes, which this piece requires. The one thing I really drives me crazy is light, wimpy percussion on the guitar. I hate it. It just drives me nuts. This piece, your right hand is going to need to be able to really do a lot of stuff, and it's going to be able to need to do it forcefully. And there's nothing that's singly been better for my playing and for that type of explosion than doing Olympic lifting. And for those of you who don't know, my brother is a great Olympic lifter and a great Olympic lifting coach, and I learned a lot from him, and it's one of the things that I teach my students, and my friends as well have all gotten into Olympic lifting, and they can attest what a positive thing it's been for their playing. So if you're skeptical, I say give it a try. We'll be going over it later on down the road. I recommend a big bag of weed. I think it's just good to every once in a while get a little loose, change your perspective. Although this piece does require a lot of concentration, so not probably great to practice the piece stone. But sometimes when you're just kind of need to be maybe look at things a little bit different and you have it in your hands, it's not a bad idea to just go to a different dimension and kind of play around with it. All right, you're going to need a lot of time. This piece takes a lot of time, and you can't rush it. If you do, it's not going to turn out sounding as good as it should, and you run the risk of hand injury. So a lot of these techniques you cannot over-practice. I can't state that enough. There's one particular technique in this piece that, as I was learning it, I over-practiced it because I wanted to get it down, and it caused my hand to blow out, and it was 1.5 years to recover. So I do not recommend that you rush learning any of these things. Just take your time. We'll discuss that as we go later on in the piece. As for the score, this is how I'm going to do the score, which is I do not do tab. I do not write in tab. I don't think you should look at tab. I find tab to be very unmusical, and you should be able to see when you're working on any piece of music, any type of musical commonality or structure or development, and you just can't see it with numbers on a page. You need to be able to see it with notes. So if you don't read music great, this is it's going to be tougher to get this piece down without being able to read music. Not that you can't do it, but it'll be helpful if you have somewhat of a facility in reading music. Also, a lot of this piece is these kind of polyrhythms and polymeters, and that stuff just doesn't translate to tab. You need to be able to see the whole kind of structure of the piece. The score is going to be available in sections as we do it with the video. So it's going to be on my website, and there'll be a donation button if you want to donate. I come from an era when we bought CDs, we bought music, and it meant something. We actually traveled far distances to study with people. There were no videos. You were kind of on your own. And I think that as great as the internet is, and as great as this access of information is, the downside of it is things don't mean as much and people don't appreciate things as much, and it just doesn't resonate as much as when you only could afford one CD a month or one record a month. Like, you learned it and you loved it, or you could buy one piece of sheet music. It just was more special to you. So, you know, if you want to download it, you want to be one of those people, that's fine. I'm not going to fight that world anymore. But I have learned that there's enough decent people out there that that care enough to show their appreciation and support what artists do. So that's my rant on that, and I will leave it at that. I think that pretty much covers everything. Section 3 is going to be discussing what pieces I learned or that I listened to when I was writing this piece and I was learning it, and that inspired the technique and the composition, amongst other things, and musical philosophies. So if you have any questions, please feel free to leave it below on YouTube, and when I pop on, I will try to answer it the best of my abilities. And I'll see you next section. Have a good day. Bye.